And welcome to Friday's Literacy. We've nearly made it to the end of another week. That deserves a little pat on the back. And today we're going to do some more work on describing. And all of the stuff that you've done this week, looking at adjectives and adverbs and expanded noun phrases, are all going to be really useful today in helping you edit and improve a description. Right, let's get started. So we have here, and the link, the PowerPoint, for this is on the website. So I want you to have a go at that. You might not need to do all of it because there's a lot there, but if you have a look at a couple of examples and then skip towards the end of the PowerPoint, it asks you to have a go yourself. So I wouldn't necessarily sit through the whole PowerPoint unless you really want to, because it will take quite a long time. Look at a couple of examples, then have a couple of goes at yourself, and then come back here and meet me for the rest of this lesson. So pause this here now and off you go and do that. Right, hopefully now you're very familiar with what an expanded noun phrase are and what expanded noun phrase is, and you've had a bit of a go at making a few of your own up. Right, we're going to have a look at this paragraph about monkeys. Let me just move that into the frame. There we go. Okay. Right, so I'm going to read it to you. Then a troop of excitable monkeys scampered down from the canopy of the kapok tree, their long tails flicking the air behind them. They chattered hurriedly to the sleeping man. Senor, you chop down one tree and then another. Without these trees there will be nothing left to hold the earth in place. When the rain comes, the soil will be washed away and the forest will become a desert. The monkeys then scrambled back to their favourite tree, which was opposite the man, found their favourite branch and sat and watched to see what would happen next. So what do you like about it? So just have a think about that. If you're in school, obviously you can chat to a partner about it. If you're at home, what is it that makes that an interesting paragraph? Okay, so for me, it is the description in it and the choice of words. So we've talked about this before, about sometimes it's about just choosing the right words. So he could have said a group of excitable monkeys, but he said a troop. And we often use a troop to sort of describe almost like a team. So it sort of suggests that they're quite a coherent bunch of monkeys who stick together. And I like that he used excitable. The other word a couple of words I want to point out are scampered. I mean, that is just such a good word to have chosen to tell the reader exactly how they were moving from the canopy of trees down to the forest floor. Scampered, such a great word. And again, that's a bit like when we looked yesterday and we said you could use the word house. But equally, you could use cottage or hovel or palace, and they're all going to paint a different picture in your reader's head. So think carefully. This author has thought carefully about the picture that they wanted to paint in our head about how those monkeys were moving. Over here, chattered. Again, great vocabulary choice. Could have said they were just talking. But chattered really does describe, if you think about that video we saw yesterday in the rainforest, it sounded like all the animals were chattering in the background, all of those noises that were being made. So again, a really good vocabulary choice. And you can find lots of those different things in here where the author has obviously really thought about the description that they want to give of this particular paragraph in their book and what kind of picture they're trying to paint in their reader's head. And I think they've done it quite well. So I've talked to you a little bit about which ones I like. Have a look and see which ones you like and write them down in your jotter. Maybe tell me also why do you like them? What is it particularly? And what other features do you notice? If you think about those key literacy toolkit things we looked at yesterday, can you find examples of adjectives, adverbs, similes, metaphors, personification, anything like that in here? Chattered might be an example of personification actually. And again, write that down in your jotter. Don't forget to write your Walt and your date in your jotter as well. So just pause the video there and have a go at this, please, and then I'll meet you back here in a couple of minutes. Right, hopefully you've had a chance to complete that. Let's have a look at a different paragraph. Finally, a jaguar leapt down from a branch and padded over to the man, growling, "Signor, the kapok tree is home to many birds and animals. If you cut it down, where will I find my dinner?" Now, for me, this is a very different paragraph from the one that we just read. And it lacks the detail and description of the monkey's paragraph, I feel. So it says here, I've written this question, do we get a detailed image of the jaguar in our heads? Now for me, no I don't. It doesn't really describe to me anything about the jaguar, what the jaguar looks like or sounds like as it moves through the rainforest. What it would feel like if a jaguar walked past you. It doesn't give you any sense of that. It doesn't really, it says leapt, doesn't really tell me how it came down from the branch. Did it leap aggressively? Was it sort of leaping in a very quiet, almost like a pouncing cat way? I have no idea, didn't tell me. And then it says padded. Padded over to the man. Did it pad over to the man lazily, quietly? Sneakily? How? I need a bit more detail. But even then it says the man. Sleeping man? Was he awake? Frightened? Was he angry? Was he grumpy? What was he? Now, and then when it comes to growling, was he growling aggressively? Growling angrily? Growling loudly? Who knows? The author has chosen not to tell us. And I could go through this in lots of detail and point out all the places where they could have given us a bit more information. Even here, when the only reference really to the rainforest is to say a branch. Now, we had a look at the rainforest in that video yesterday, and there's an awful lot more you could say about a rainforest than just a branch. So I don't think it's a great paragraph. So this is what we're going to be working on today, improving this paragraph and then making it better, basically. Yeah. Okay, so let's have a look. We did something like this yesterday, if you remember. So what sort of things might we want to include in our description to create a vivid and detailed picture of the jaguar in our heads? Now, if we were all together, we would be doing this together. So I'm going to ask you to pause for a minute, draw this spidergram into your books, see if you can remember the sort of tools that we can have in our toolkit to help us. Okay, and I'll meet you back here in a minute. Right, hopefully you've had a go at that. So let me just write in the other things you want to consider. So I think if you've got adjectives, you definitely want to have adverbs. Similes. These should be rolling off the tongue by now because we've done it so many times. Metaphors. That's when you're saying something is something else. This is when you're saying something is like something else. Good vocabulary choices. What did I call them yesterday? Good vocabulary choices. So that was the example I gave yesterday, was if you're saying house, you might want to say cottage, you might want to say palace, you might want to say a hovel. If you're saying car, you might be saying an old banger. You might be saying a limousine, or a taxi, or a sports car, or a Formula One car. All of these are cars, but they're all very different cars, and so you need to think very specifically about which kind of car and make your vocabulary choices around that. And that's similar here. Good vocabulary choices to really pinpoint for your reader exactly what it was that you wanted to say. Right, and expanded noun phrases, because you've done that PowerPoint this morning, just to remind you, because we have done it before. That's not the first time that we've covered expanded noun phrases. It's there as a reminder, so you might want to have some of them in there. Make that a little bit smaller. Expanded. Shouldn't really have done that. That's a bit weird. Let's just pull that out a bit. There we go. That's better. Expanded noun phrases, and what have I missed? Personification. Okay. There we go. So these are all things that you need to consider, and these are all things you used yesterday and we've used before in class, so there's nothing new here, if you like. All things you've had a go at before. Okay, so let's have a watch of a video. I've got a couple of videos of jaguars, and as you're watching them you could jot down some ideas about what vocabulary you might use about jaguars. Think about the way, again, using your senses. What can you hear? What can you see? What do you think it would feel like to be near that jaguar, to touch that jaguar? Because you might want to describe its coat, its fur coat. Yeah, let's have a watch. Okay, hopefully you enjoyed that. Those two little clips looking at jaguars, absolutely fascinating. And I was really interested to notice how, when they're just walking, how slowly and stealthily they walk through the jungle and so on and so forth. And just to see them in the wild was really very good. So I'm hopefully got a bit of an idea about how you might describe the jaguar. So, how are we going to change and improve this description? So, there's a description I'm asking you to work on. Let me move this up here. We've got 3 challenges, a bit like yesterday. So, if you want to just go for challenge 1, then that would be including adjectives and adverbs to improve this paragraph. Challenge 2, you would have a go including some similes and expanded noun phrases. And challenge 3, you would include all of those things plus some metaphors and maybe some more detailed expanded noun phrases. So rewrite this paragraph, making those improvements. You can have a look at the language that you came up with yesterday, because that might help you with that. Okay, so pause the video here, have a go at that, and then come back when you've done it. Okay, hopefully you've managed to complete that. So have a little look at this review section. Did you manage to improve the paragraph? How do you know? Can you use the wolf to check? Underline wherever you have used adjectives and similes, expanded noun phrases, and more detailed language. And you could use a thesaurus to help you there. So you could use different colours to underline your work for each of these and create a key if you wanted to. But this bit is really important as well. Make sure that you reread your work. Make sure that you're happy that it creates the picture in the reader's head that you wanted. And if not, change it. Make some changes. See if you can make it even better. When you've done that, post your work up on Dojo. And I look forward to seeing it later. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week.